The rain hammered against the metal roof of the trading post as Marcus wiped down the counter for the third time that evening. The frontier colony of New Haven wasn't much to look at, but it served as a crucial waypoint for travelers moving between the core worlds and the outer rim territories. Most nights brought a steady stream of merchants, explorers, and drifters seeking shelter from the harsh weather that plagued this sector of space. Tonight felt different. The door chimed as someone stumbled inside, bringing with them a gust of cold air and the acrid smell of ozone. Marcus looked up from his cleaning and froze. The figure in the doorway was clearly not human, though humanoid in shape. She stood roughly 6 feet tall, with pale blue skin that seemed to shimmer under the artificial lights. Her clothing was torn and stained, hanging loosely on her thin frame. What struck Marcus most were her eyes, large, golden orbs that held a mixture of desperation and barely contained dignity. She swayed slightly, one hand pressed against the doorframe for support. Her gaze swept the small establishment before, settling on Marcus. For a moment, neither moved. "Are you all right?" Marcus asked, stepping out from behind the counter. The alien woman straightened, attempting to regain her composure despite her obvious weakness. When she spoke, her voice carried a melodic quality that seemed to resonate in the air itself. "I seek no charity," she said, her accent thick but her words clear. "I have nothing to trade, but I will work for sustenance." Marcus studied her face, noting the hollow cheeks and the way her hands trembled slightly. He had seen enough desperate travelers to recognize starvation when it stood before him. "When did you last eat?" he asked gently. Her golden eyes flashed with something between shame and defiance. "That is not your concern, human." "Maybe not," Marcus replied, already moving toward the small kitchen behind the counter. "But I've got hot stew that'll go bad if someone doesn't eat it tonight." He ladled the thick broth into a bowl, adding chunks of synthetic meat and vegetables. The aroma filled the small space, and he heard her sharp intake of breath behind him. When he turned back, she was standing closer, her carefully maintained facade cracking his hunger-overwhelmed pride. "I cannot pay," she whispered. "Did I ask for payment?" Marcus set the bowl on the counter and gestured toward one of the stools. "Sit, eat." She hesitated for a long moment before slowly approaching the counter. Her movements were careful, measured, as if she expected him to snatch the food away at any moment. When she finally sat and took the first spoonful, the transformation was remarkable. Her entire body seemed to relax as warmth and nourishment began to work their magic. "My name is Kira," she said between careful bites. "I am of the Vellani people." Marcus had heard of the Vellani, a proud warrior race from the Andromeda Spiral. They were known for their advanced technology and fierce independence. Seeing one reduced to near starvation was both heartbreaking and puzzling. "I'm Marcus," he replied, pouring himself a cup of coffee. "What brings a Vellani so far from home?" Kira's spoon paused halfway to her mouth. For a moment, pain flickered across her features before she resumed eating. "My clan was destroyed in the war with the hegemony," she said quietly. "I am the last of my line." The hegemony wars had ended 3 years ago, leaving devastation across multiple star systems. Entire species had been displaced or wiped out entirely. Marcus had heard the stories, but facing a survivor brought the reality into sharp focus. "I'm sorry," he said, and meant it. She nodded once, acknowledging his sympathy without dwelling on it. As she continued eating, Marcus found himself studying her features. Despite her obvious hardship, there was an underlying strength to her that spoke of noble bearing and warrior training. Her hands, though thin, moved with practiced precision, and her posture remained straight even in her weakened state. "You have shown kindness to a stranger," Kira said when she had finished the bowl. "Among my people, such acts create bonds of honor." "It was just food," Marcus replied, uncomfortable with the formal tone. There is no just about sustaining life, she countered. You asked nothing in return, expected nothing. This is rare in the galaxy. Over the following days, Kira remained at the trading post. She insisted on working to earn her keep, despite Marcus's protests that it wasn't necessary. She proved remarkably capable, her advanced knowledge of technology, allowing her to repair systems that had been malfunctioning for months. More importantly, her presence brought a sense of companionship that Marcus hadn't realized he'd been missing. The frontier could be a lonely place, and most of his interactions were brief exchanges with passing travelers. Having someone to talk with during the long evenings was a gift he came to treasure. Kira possessed a sharp intellect and a dry sense of humor that emerged once she felt more comfortable. She told him stories of her homeworld, of silver cities that reached toward purple skies, and of the ancient traditions that had governed her people for millennia. In return, Marcus shared his own history. He had been a soldier once, before growing tired of the endless conflicts that seemed to plague the galaxy. The trading post represented his attempt to find peace, to create something positive in a small corner of the universe. Weeks passed, then months. What began as simple companionship gradually deepened into something more profound. Marcus found himself looking forward to their evening conversations, to the way Kira's eyes lit up when she laughed, to the quiet moments when they worked side by side in comfortable silence. The realization hit him one evening as they sat on the porch, watching the twin moons rise over the horizon. Somewhere along the way, the grateful refugee had become the center of his world. Kira, he said, his voice uncertain. She turned to look at him, those golden eyes reflecting moonlight. Yes? I know this might sound crazy, given how we met and how different we are, but I think I'm falling in love with you. For a long moment, she said nothing. Then a slow smile spread across her face, transforming her features with warmth and joy. Among the Vellani, she said softly, we believe that the universe brings together those who are meant to be bound by fate. When you offered food to a starving stranger, you began weaving a thread that cannot be broken. She reached out and took his hand, her touch sending warmth up his arm. I love you too, Marcus of the humans. Their wedding was a simple affair, witnessed by the few permanent residents of the colony and blessed according to both human and Vellani traditions. As they exchanged vows under the star-filled sky, Marcus reflected on the strange turns life could take. He had offered a bowl of stew to a desperate traveler and gained a partner who would share his dreams of building something lasting in the wilderness of space. In the years that followed, their trading post became known throughout the sector not just as a place of commerce, but as a beacon of hope where different species could find common ground. Travelers would often comment on the remarkable partnership between the human merchant and his Vellani wife, not knowing that their bond had begun with the simplest act of human kindness, sometimes the greatest. Adventures began with the smallest gestures of compassion. Chat Control Sonnet 4.